to buy into a business or to invest into a company because of tokenization. And that's life changing. That takes what was to the 1%ers of the world, democratizes that, and allows people over the world to buy into something.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Particle Accelerator podcast, where we talk to future thinking business leaders about how to accelerate their business and grow their team. I am here today with Brian. Brian, could you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity today. So Brian J. Esposito, 2 chapters of my life. I'm the CEO and founder of Esposito Intellectual Enterprises. That's 23 plus years of my career as an entrepreneur, building, starting, acquiring, and merging with companies. Within that ecosystem, there's over 110 entities within my model. There's over 20 joint ventures around the world, and been proudly operating in over 25 different industries. And with a heavy focus on tokenization with a lot of those businesses, understanding the compliance around secure tokens, and a lot of the momentum that we're hearing with things like BlackRock and Securitize and what they have done. And last August, we're coming up on just about a year, I took over a public company as CEO known as Diamond Lake Minerals, and the symbol of that company is DLMI. And we've created quite a unique and I believe the future model of all public companies and what we're building there.
Oh, really cool. I'm excited to get into that, but let's get to know you a little bit better. The way I usually do that is I ask, what is your first job? For me, it was a paper route, but how did you make your first dollar?
Yeah, for me, I've working since I can even remember. So specifically 8 years old working, and my dad had a beauty manufacturing company and distribution. So he had a nail care line that he launched into the world. And I remember sitting in his warehouse with a bunch of the other employees and filling up little nail treatment bottles and then putting a brush in there and putting the cap on it and then putting that into a box and then putting 6 boxes into a 6-piece display. So I was doing that at a very young age. And then from there, it was mowing lawns and creating value and even hiring kids in my neighborhood to help me scale and do more lawns. And always, my entire life, always out there looking at opportunities. How can I create value? I love making people happy. So how can I have that emotional response to whatever I'm doing and performing into the market? And I've just continued to build upon that. I think my first real job was training to be a baseball player. That was my dream, and my goal was to be at some level a professional baseball player. And a lot of those work ethics, skills, dedication, even when you strike out or you ground out, and how do you come back at the next at bat and perform and not let previous experiences stay in your head and continue to push through. So I think that was one of the most important pieces of my professional career, was training in that sport and taking a lot of those habits and a lot of those characteristics and applying it to the business world.
Yeah, I love it. Well, what toy or hobby did you have as a child that inspired what you do career-wise?
Oh, what a great question. I guess it was my love for technology. I was very young and blessed to have a computer in the house at a young age. So from there, I got to learn how to code and create all different types of mathematical equations that would create a game or some sort of a picture or functionality. So that was probably the most important piece of a hobby, but also where I learned a skill that not many kids also were learning because they didn't have resources to be able to even have that outside of a school or a library.
Yeah.
And that got my love for technology, and that led me to, I built the first B2B, B2C e-commerce platform for the beauty industry in the late 90s. So if I didn't have that technology in my household and the time to, and the interest to teach myself how to use that and what you can actually get out of that, I would not have been able to create that company or that site.
Yeah. So what was that first computer? Do you remember the model? Like I had a Commodore 64.
It was, I remember it being a very yellow Macintosh computer. I don't remember the exact model, but it had the big floppy discs that we would perform on.
Yeah.
I don't remember the model. I know my mom has it in the basement, so we can.
Oh, really? You still have it? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you remember this thing? And I'm a little off script here, but it was this thing. I think it was called Logos. It was because you mentioned writing programs to draw pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember back then there was this thing, it was like a triangle on the screen and you could draw like 90 pixels forward, turn right.
Yes.
And so I wondered if that was what you're referring to. And then you could do geometric diagrams or whatever.
Absolutely. And I remember making like a snake. You can make the snake longer and then it would move around the screen. And I remember an episode of Mr. Wizard, if you remember that old TV show where he was teaching the kids how to do that. So that was always of interest to me. And my goodness, how it's evolved and what these computers can do and what people can use these machines to be able to create are absolutely amazing.
Well, what was your favorite and least favorite course in school?
Uh, my favorite's always been math and science. In college, it was psychology. I think that was such an important piece of understanding people and humanity, and that and marketing were always my favorites. Again, how do you bring something to market? How do you understand how to have an emotional connection to somebody and create a brand? Least favorite, that's a great question. Any least favorite I had was due to the teacher. It wasn't really the subject. It was due to
the learning experience. Yeah, for sure. 100%. Love that. Well, what quote from a famous person lives in your mind rent free?
Well, I don't know if I'm a famous person, but it's my own quote. I'm always thinking about my own quote that I put out in the market. So it's mine, as obnoxious as that sounds.
That's fine.
I say everybody can be an overnight success if you wake up each new day a little bit smarter, wiser, and stronger than you were the day before.
Love it.
To me, that is a daily quote that I think could continue to inspire people to not just look at materialistic things or monetary successes, but more about evolving as a human being and learning from the previous day.
Yeah, love it. Cool. Well, what was the greatest invention or discovery you feel in the past 300 years?
Man, I usually love when I don't like preparing for any discussion. So I love being on the spot, but you're asking some ones that probably would have required a little preparation. So for me, it's probably something, it's got to be what we've accomplished in medicine. I don't know specifically, probably things like penicillin. Because if it wasn't for that type of resources and brilliant people going into how do we cure diseases, how do we live longer, then I don't think anything else would have been able to be as accomplished as quickly as it is. Because I do believe experience creates tremendous domino effects. And the older we are, the more experiences that we get, the more grounded that we get, the more resilient that we get. So if we weren't able to extend humanity's lifespan as far as the average age, then I don't think you would have had great resources and really wise people leading great companies and projects forward. So I think it's definitely what has gone into allowing us to live longer and cure diseases and prevent diseases. I don't know which specific one, but any or everything in that space.
That's great. That's great. Well, so now we'll get into the meatier stuff here. I appreciate you letting me put you on the spot with some of those get to know you questions. It's always amazing for me as a host to see like where people have come and then where they are now. And I think it's good for the audience too, to just realize that, you can do anything, and people are experiencing that all the time. So, what tech trend significantly impacted you, your industry, and how has your company responded?
I've been building technology since, again, the late 90s. So there's continuously new trends. But if we're talking modern times, it is blockchain and the entire crypto currency industry. And where I participated in is security tokens, so regulated digital assets that fall in line within the SEC guidelines and rules and regulations. So for what we've been building and the flag in the sand that me as a professional have created in the market, as well as the companies that I'm part of and our public company, being able to go out into the market and allow people from all over the world to buy into a business or to invest into a company because of tokenization. And that's life changing. That takes what was to the 1%ers of the world, democratizes that, and allows people over the world to buy into something that they never had a chance to buy into before. And I'm I used to sell nail polish, and I joke about that. And my evolution has been where I am today is crazy if you look back and think about it. But to me, this is one of the biggest impacts that I can have on humanity, because I see how hard it is for people to just get through the day and get by. But now, if somebody can throw a few bucks into a real estate development or into some real world asset that some company has brought to market, and they're given the opportunity to throw a few bucks into that because of technology, because they have a smartphone and they have a digital wallet on their phone, then people have a chance to pull themselves out of bad situations that they may have been born into, or lack of opportunities because of town they grew up in, geographical locations. So there's a chance now. You still got to be smart, still got to do due diligence and look into these opportunities to make sure that they're as safe as possible. But now people have a chance to create some sort of wealth. And when you have that, then you start to create a sense of confidence and a sense of pride. And when you have that, you start to see a global shift in people not maybe being as scared or as being as inferior, where they start to feel, again, confidence, I think, is everything. When you give somebody that, they can move mountains. And a lot of it, unfortunately, is alleviating a lot of the financial stress and worries. And now I think there's a lot of tools and technologies and companies like ours that are giving opportunities for people to buy into these things is, I think, one of the biggest movements for wealth creation for the world.
Yeah. So how does that differ from what you said there? I have two directions I can go with that. But first, for most of the innovators and CEOs listening, how does the crypto, especially the securities crypto, how does that differ from getting a broker, signing up for Robinhood and trading stocks?
Well, the way that we do it with security tokens and our plan and vision is that it's the same offering. It goes through the same rules and regulations. So if a stock is putting an offering into the market, or a company's putting a market offer into the market, you still need all the due diligence, the data room, prospectus. So you're falling in line with that, which is great. But because you can open up to an international audience, people can buy into that company. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a public company. It can be some sort of offering that a private company put into the market, but it'll open it up again to, if you're a U.S. Resident or U.S. company, you can invite millions of people from around the world to buy into that. That's where it gets really interesting. In the past, it's been a GPLP model, for example. You're going to go to a handful of people to try to raise tens of millions of dollars. That's difficult to do when times are great. It's even harder to do when times are not so great. But if you have a chance to go to millions of people to throw a few bucks into something because of technology and because you're putting these regulated offerings into the market, that's game changing. It's crowdfunding on steroids, because it's crowdfunding in a new mechanism where you can invite a global audience and, again, non-sanctioned countries to be able to participate in that company. Where it gets really important is really performing. So whatever that offering or that company or project that's raising money in the market, they need to perform, they need to create excitement, and then they create demand, because the secondary market's going to be extremely important for those initial investors. How do they get out of that token, for example, if they wish to exit it or they need liquidity? So you really need to make sure that you have a great campaign as far as what the company is, what you're raising money for, really perform and provide some sort of return or reward or value to those security token holders. And then they either hold on to it and keep earning from it, or there's demand in the secondary market where they can exit that. And you create what is a global stock market mechanism, no matter where you live, because again, you have a digital wallet on your phone, like Upstream or like any of these other wonderful platforms, INX. It's the future. Now, what we've created is the hybrid approach with Diamond Lake Minerals. It's using all different types of financing mechanisms to identify, build, and grow companies. But we also have the security token component. So it's, in my mind, it's just another mechanism to help fuel companies and to help bring people in a global audience that never had a chance to buy into companies before. Now they have that opportunity.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I always thought it was a little bit interesting when you have an IPO. There's something happening in the background before the IPO where some Wall Street dudes are buying a bunch of the shares.
Yeah.
And then, usually that drives some kind of price up situation, price down situation from the initial pricing. but it seemed very exclusive. Like you had to
Oh
be
yeah.
one of those Wall Street dudes.
Or a
Uh,
top client of theirs that gets invited into that.
that's right. And then it's public. And so then, of course, if you're an employee, you're blocked out for a big length of time.
Mhm.
You can't trade. And yeah, it always seemed very there's a lot of cronyism going on. And sounds like your vision um, for the crypto securities is just more widely available to everyone with kind of less of that cronyism.
That's the vision. And with a really good team and management, a lot of crypto projects that aren't in the lane of a security token, you don't know who's running them. You don't know if there's any real value there besides hype and a marketing machine. And you don't know any of the use of proceeds from any of their offerings. So there's trillions of dollars in the crypto meme token world, which is a lot of capital. And if that can be funneled as into as many valid companies that really have a vision and really have opportunities to create value, that's enormous. But there's a lot held up right now in this other crypto world that is exciting. It is allowing for technologies to be created, and it's allowing for a lot of resources to build amazing exchanges and audiences. But my fear is, one or two of them aren't real, or they start to fall, then it causes confusion and a lot of lack of confidence in the entire market. So that's why it's really important for companies like ours that are focused on security tokens that we make them work and we make them as valuable as possible. We create a lot of confidence and security around these are real, these are run by real seasoned executives, and they're really building businesses with another new medium or new pipe with access to retail capital.
Yeah, super super cool. Well, what other technology innovations are you betting on to drive your business growth?
I'm very careful with AI. I mean, everybody's throwing that buzzword into their business models. We have not done that, and I'm not interested in using that as now we're in AI, so we can go out and try to get people excited or raising capital. I'm very ethical on what AI can be and what that should be as far as a company is concerned. On a quick segue of that, I wish AI was more focused, and there's a ton of money going into that. I wish it was more like, let's put a ton of AI into curing cancer and to give all those resources and materials and high profile people. Let's funnel it on one solution, and let's really be successful at that. It's so fragmented. So there's all these different AI initiatives out there. So we're not even playing that game. I think, you know, people are used to remote working right now, and and still productivity is not as great as it was when everybody was working in the office and performing and creating that bond. So I think there needs to be a lot more advancements in Web3 world as far as how do you make people feel like they're really together in a room and really being productive, even if they're not in the same room and they're utilizing technologies or the metaverse or some sort of virtual reality to build that bond and really perform and really be productive. So that's got to be really important. We have a lot of holdings that are being focused on how do you really elevate the metaverse world and create value and utility there. But we also have consumer products that we're always evolving, and IP that we're creating to go to market with things that we know there's a long-term need for. Again, I'm involved in so many different industries, so there's always technology advancements across IP. Very focused on what's the future of music look like, and again, using things like security tokens to be a new mechanism from the old royalty program that everybody's used to in music IP and catalogs and publishing. Now, how can the fans participate in a growing or new artist, or how can the fans participate in a big liquidity event for a very successful artist by having them have some sort of part ownership or fractional ownership in music IP and really be part of their favorite band or group or celebrity? These are a lot of things that we're looking at as far as where's the opportunity, where do you create value for people, and how do you have a really strong emotional connection to whatever you're buying. Even on the consumer product side, I think there's a huge play for tokenization where be part of the brand's upside that you're buying in a grocery store or you're buying on Amazon. Like really, if you're going to really support a brand, wouldn't it be great to have some sort of, not necessarily maybe an equity ownership in it, but maybe there's some sort of a revenue share ownership in a brand's new launch because you helped finance the brand's new launch. And now that brand didn't have to go to old school financial mechanisms like banking or debt or trying to raise more money or diluting their equity. If you go to a global audience that you already have buying your products or excited to buy your products, well, wouldn't it be great if they could also make money back by being a part owner of a future brand or a future brand extension? So this is how my mind has been looking at, okay, it's finally all here where everybody's got one of these, even if they live in a hut, they have a smartphone. Now, how do you have direct access to them? So things like mesh networking for cellular phones connectivity. You have Musk putting satellites everywhere. So you do have a true global connected world, and people have digital wallets on their phones. So now they can really easily push a few buttons and start building a portfolio of companies or brands or products that they want to be part of. So it's moving. It's moving exponentially now, which is great to see.
Yeah, we put some work into visualizing when you sell an item, right? Just you sell an item. If it's a concert ticket, to use your analogy, just you sell that item, and then all of the layers of contracts and invoicing and the roadies and the facility and all these things in the supply chain to deliver you that concert experience. Just seeing that, I think it's really difficult for people to visualize how many layers there are in that chain. And then the Web3 promise is that, okay, we transacted that ticket and everybody got paid.
Exactly.
That everybody in that chain had an equal part, maybe a different percentage share, but an equal part in making that transaction happen. And then we go into e-commerce or any of the other analogies. But how cool it would be. I mean, just the amount of time we spend in contracting, invoicing, collecting money, billing people,
waiting for the money to hit.
That's right. That's right. And then people, some people, probably the folks that are lowest on the chain or latest in the chain, they're doing the most work and they're getting paid the least, right? And then finance is the one making the money, really making a significant amount of money on the interest of all this going in with, like, helping people fund the different layers. So really when people hear Web3, they should hear an effort to bring all of that together to kind of abstract those layers and help people get paid in real time. And it would be a miracle of human collaboration to actually pull that off. I sometimes I have doubts that, and so that'll lead me to my next question, which will allow you to also respond. What do you think the most significant gaps between your ambitions are and the realities of today?
Oh, that's living torture for me. The gaps have always been there.
That's cold night sweats are made of this kind of question for sure.
Again, there's a lot because I'm involved in so many. I don't know if I'm going to answer the question correctly, but for me is to be prepared and be patient for when those gaps catch up. As long as you can weather the storm, that's one of the hardest things for someone that's a futurist, a technologist, someone that's, we call them a visionary. They see where the market's going and they start building and they start creating it. And then it's waiting, and it's expensive to wait. And you have all these people excited, maybe even raise money, or you're paying employees and you're waiting. That's very difficult. That's why a lot of second tier companies that come in after somebody laid the groundwork are more successful, because they just replicated it and didn't have to wait as long. And they already had a comps to point to as far as the market and the industry. So yeah, there's always going to be gaps because there's the people that run the world, whoever they are. I'm not going to go down to the conspiracy theories, but until they know how to make money with the changes, that's when it gets widely distributed. Once they figure out how they're going to make money, then the marketing and the media machine get behind it. Then it becomes credible. Then it becomes an industry. But until the leaders of the world, which would be major companies, funds, Um, you know, government. So until they figure out, okay, this is where we're going, we're going to throttle it. Maybe we'll bless a few private companies because we already have previous relationships with them. And then it's go. And then the gap is closed. And then there's another industry that's going to be born. And that's part of humanity. We're always evolving new things and demands and needs, and life will change on a moment's notice, and then you have to come and figure out, how do we adapt to that? You adapt or die. But there's never not going to be gaps. um there's certain regions around the world that are a lot more innovation friendly. Like the US, we missed the boat on innovation and leading things like blockchain. We shut down banks that were focused on blockchain. It just made them disappear. A lot of that talent and resources went to the Middle East, and they're becoming UAE and Saudi. They're becoming leaders in this. They're really inspiring people to be freely innovative and create, and they'll fund that. So there's places around the world where the gap is a little bit smaller, because when you're an innovator, you need to innovate, and you can't not. Even when I do stuff in the music industry, creators have to create. The talented creators that's sitting in the studio or writing a song, they can't be thinking about the studio bill or the utility bill or anything else that causes worry or confusion or stress. They just need to be in a blissful state. And innovation and innovators also need to be in that blissful state. Otherwise, they're going to allow fear to cripple them.
Yeah. It's interesting. Innovation used to be a uniquely American trait, right? And it's kind of stopped doing that. We have to get out of our own way with regulations and such. And I don't feel like, not to go political, but I don't feel like either party has really done a significant contribution in reducing the size of the government so that we could get back to that differentiator. So I agree with that sentiment. What is the biggest challenge to maintaining a competitive edge in your industry?
Yeah, it's tough for me to answer these types of questions. I'm in so many different industries, but it's always creating brand credibility. And now more than ever, people's attention span is milliseconds, right? So if you're able to capture their attention for a millisecond, you're winning. And how do you maintain that capture and keep them engaged? That's very difficult for companies and brands. And there's always something new and flashy that they go and look at. I think like the dog from Up, when he sees a squirrel, like that's us. We're just constantly being distracted and moved in other different situations. So no matter what you have in the market, IP, technology, products, you have a service, you have a solution, you have to, I think you have to boil it down to very simple, very simple business. Because first and foremost, you need to have a good, strong mental health and wellness. If you don't have that within your business, you don't feel a sense of pride and sense of just being self-aware of your successes, and you're not going to perform. So when you're out in the market building a business, just be very simple. If you have a customer, be so grateful you have a customer. Treat that customer like gold. Make them feel special. Make them feel seen. Don't make them feel like they're just a wallet or a credit card. Like, make them feel part of your brand, and then have that customer tell somebody else, and then you have two, and make them feel amazing. And then the 2 becomes 4, and the 4 becomes 8. You have to do it like that, and you have to block out competitors or reading things on LinkedIn or X or the Wall Street Journal, where companies like yours are raising tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, even though you have more stuff and better stuff to them. All that's noise and just fluff out there to cause you to feel bad and not perform. So if you can just get your head wrapped around building a simple business, growing it correctly, having the right support around you and the right team members. And if someone's not the right team member, don't try to change them. They have to be replaced. Like, you just have to have the right culture and ethos, and everybody has to be in sync. You're a machine. One thing's out of whack, it's not going to work. You're an amazing orchestra. If one of those instruments isn't tuned right, it's going to sound like crap, even if everybody else is playing perfectly. So you have to be very conscious of, again, very simple. mentalities as it relates to business. My mindset is if you want to be in business, you need revenues. If you want to stay in business, you have to be profitable. It got very sidetracked over the years with valuations and future looking projections, like all this, again, noise. It's just simple. Make some money, pay yourself, pay your employees, pay your bills, and then grow a little bit. Do the same thing, rinse and repeat. And then as long as you are not personally trying to compete with your neighbor on what they're driving or what's on their wrist or what bag your wife has, like all that is also noise to make you shift your priorities. Like it's a lot to live today. There's a lot to have to figure out.
There's so many good stuff in what you said. I think what I'm finding is that people need to know me before I know them. And so the founder brand or the content creation is becoming a brand responsibility for everyone. I think it's going to be difficult for any brand going forward to be an introverted brand, and for business leaders to be introverted from a social media perspective is going to be super dangerous. It's just going to be very, very difficult. And then once you know them, yeah, I agree. It's all about the relationship in growing them. And then, like, I think the last thing you said there to summarize is just like, you have to run a good business. You have to have common sense with running a business and not spend more than you make and make sure that the unit economics are there. And we'll talk more about culture in a minute. But I just totally agree with kind of those foundational points. And since people's attentions are all over the place, you have to give them value even before you know them. Like, I mean, that's kind of the reason why we're doing this podcast. And there's just a stream of content and value we want to share with folks before they even know who we are or decide that they need our help. It's totally
Absolutely
right. Well, how do you approach risk management when implementing cutting edge technologies? You mentioned you're involved in a lot of different industries. So how do you approach risk and keep that eye towards profitability?
Again, this is part of growing and evolving and being a little bit smarter than you were the day before. So at this chapter of my career, at least the last few years, I try to de-risk everything at this point. When you have the right relationships, the right support and machine behind you or next to you, it can be very de-risk. I mean, it's like 20 years ago, if I launched a product, but I didn't know any buyers at any stores, or it had no distribution, or I didn't have great logistic company support, very difficult. You're launching a product, your margins are out of whack, you don't have the right store, you don't have any buyers, very difficult. Fast forward to maybe 20 years from then, I have all of that. So we can launch a product, we can get it made correctly, we know we're paying the right pricing, we have distributors already lined up placing orders. Maybe they're even placing purchase orders, and those purchase orders are bankable because they're with credit rated buyers. So now you don't have to worry about raising money. You can finance the orders. And then you have the distribution laid out. You have your retail laid out. We got great social media support and direct access to online shopping partners. So it's here. We launched a great product. We've got a global audience ready for it, and we have a foundation where it's accessible. So that is my mindset today. If we're going to go into something, I'm tired of risk. I'm always going to be a risk taker as far as, we need to build that and get that out in the market. But how do we do that where nobody's at harm, investors aren't at harm, capital's not at harm, my own soul's not at harm? Like, how do we do it where it's flawless to an extent? And you do that because you worked your ass off and you figured it out. So where we're at today is great support, great access. Access is everything. And I hate saying this. I thought maybe it wasn't the case, but it is truly who you know. So that means go out there and meet as many people as you can. Go out there and have integrity.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a catchphrase of like, I'll take risk with people, but not with products. And because I think where we over maximize risk is with the building relationships, being willing to talk to people, like take all the risks with your relationships, because if you don't, then nothing will happen. Right. But with your products and your investments, maybe not so much. And that's Well, what advice can you share for connecting? I love asking this question because I'm such a data-driven leader. I'm such a planner. I love working with people on their roadmaps and their strategies. I'm wondering if you can share any advice or tips and tricks for connecting technology roadmaps with your overall business strategy. And you're welcome to take that anywhere, but I just feel like how we connect our strategy to our execution is just such an insightful thing that we can get to know, that we can always improve. How do you approach that?
And this is as far as building technology.
It can be technology, or it can even be like your annual plan. I've had people kind of throw out the technology piece and just be like, okay, this is how I make sure my team is clear on what we're going to
Yeah.
do.
Well, a lot of it has to do with the team too, because so many companies are very siloed, and I think it's just lack of proper communication. See, if the technology team is building something, they know what it can and can't do. Like they know. You have the CEO that's sometimes this big visionary that wants it to do all these things and shares what it wants it to do. And the technology team sitting there sometimes afraid to even speak up and saying, shit, I can't do that. But he's out there saying it, or she's out there saying it. Then the marketing people, they're out there promoting that this thing can do everything. It can slice bread, it can mow your lawn, it can make you lose weight without even getting up. Like it's just out there promoting because that's what they're meant to do. So now you have something that's going out to the market that there's so much confusion, and all the confusion started at home. So whatever you're doing or building or starting, like there needs to be complete communication, and you have to trust the people that are building it. If you don't trust their capabilities, or if they're saying it can't be done, maybe they're not God in that statement. Maybe you have the wrong technology partners, or you have the wrong CTO, or the wrong third party outsourced firm. Like if you want to build something and it's not like going to Jupiter, and you feel it can be done, well, then you're gonna have to pick up the phone or search and look for people that you believe can actually build it. Then once it's being built, timelines with everybody else need to be so in sync. So you're not out there getting customers or out there signing licenses, but the tech's not built. And then you're telling maybe your investors or your capital partners all these things are happening, and it's not happening. At some point, all that's going to catch up to you, and all because of poor communication. So how I would answer your question is everything has to stem from realistic expectations on timelines. If there are setbacks, that's fine. Life is all about setbacks. As long as you're breathing and you're alive, you can always push through. So if there's a setback, all right, no worries. You go to everybody that you're communicating with, and you're open and honest with them, from the capital suppliers to your potential customers to any partners waiting in the wings. Keep them excited, keep them involved, and keep them in communication, because the last thing you want is frustration within your own home and your business home. Like you don't want that. And if that's happening, there's no way you can be successful. It's impossible.
Yeah, love it. Are there any frameworks that you use? So I love the communication between the vision and the realities, and like that constant cycle. Are there any frameworks that you like to use to kind of measure or monitor that cycle from a practical standpoint?
Do you mean technologies or services out there that keep everybody in check?
I find that tools abound, right? Project management tools and OKR tools and whatnot abound. But the methodology, the management of it is not replaceable. Like tools
Right.
just help you visualize. But just interested to see if you are you a fan of like OKRs for setting that vision, or how do you is there anything else there?
There are team members within my world that need those tools. For me, it's my head. My brain can remember and connect things and stay on top of things. So for me, it's just knowing where we're at and communicating that with whoever I need to communicate that with. I don't use those types of tools or solutions. Thankfully, maybe at one point I need to, but there are people that use them and they think that they're great. But for me, it's old school, picking up the phone, shooting a text, talking to everybody and letting them know, keeping people in accountability. And it starts from leadership. If leadership isn't keeping people in accountability, then there's no interest for people to self accountability. incentivize themselves, if that's even the word. It needs to come from the culture and the ethos of the company, and that comes from its founder or its founders, and it's got to be consistent.
Yeah, you sound like a visionary in that, where you know where you're trying to go, and then you're influencing people to do the execution to bring that vision to reality. And you just
But
want honesty, right? Well, this is how far away we are. I love that.
and influencing the right people, because you can spend your entire life trying to influence the wrong people if it's not fitting your culture. You just have to you just again have to surround yourself with the right people, where it should not be you should not be straining to get people to believe in your vision, especially if you're the one whose ass is on the line, that's leveraging their home, their credit line, their social security number to pay people. You shouldn't pay people and have to convince them. That's very it's hypocrisy. You want to support and you want to help people thrive that believe in the vision, not ones that are there contradicting the vision. I take high offense to that, because there's a lot of great people out there that need work, and people that are in an organization that don't appreciate it, or they don't believe in it. They should find somewhere else where they would love to be and where they feel passionate about. Don't take resources from somebody else that you shouldn't be there.
Yeah, and magic happens when you're with people who get things done, enjoy getting things done, or encouraged by progress, but also teach you something once in a while, like teach you something regularly, are giving you new information and things you didn't know. There's just so much magic in there, like you spring out of bed in the morning.
Exactly.
What lessons have you learned from initiatives that failed to deliver expected value?
Oh, we're gonna need 20 more hours of a podcast here for that. But a lot of initiatives. I think communication is the most important thing I've learned, and keeping people. Don't make people wonder. Don't make people feel scared. It's not easy. It's not easy, and sometimes I think even Tesla was an hour away from bankruptcy at one point in their business model. Things can change in a moment's notice, and that's kind of exciting about being an entrepreneur and being a leader and building something. You never know what message or email or phone call you can get at any time, but you're only going to get that if you're out there working, you're pounding the door and you're meeting people and you're creating that energy. So it's, no matter how doom and gloom it could feel or be, I know sitting in the corner isn't going to change anything, and being in the fetal position and crying, why me? So don't do that, because that's not going to solve anything. But being as positive as you possibly can without sound like a lunatic and not having any real emotions or connectivity to reality, but be as positive as you can be. Life is going to smack the hell out of you, no matter what you have in the bank or don't. Nobody's immune to problems. But if you can push through and create good energy around what you're building and what you're bringing to the market, it can change at a moment's notice. That's kind of the beautiful thing about the world. And also the flip of that is great things can change at a moment's notice and go bad. So you have to be very conscious about what's going on around you. Don't be caught in a moment where you could have prevented something. I know a big part of my success is, as far as meeting people and being invited into rooms that I shouldn't have been invited into, is the way that I problem solve and the way that I look at things as there's always a solution. So that allowed me to really become a vetted and trusted partner in certain things that I've honored to have been part of. Now it's okay. I can problem solve because, again, I'm wired that there's always a solution. As long as you don't have terminal cancer, you can go out and figure it out. Now, what I love about this chapter of my life is the preventative side of it. What do we do to prevent the problems from happening in the first place? It's so much more valuable than wasting time and energy and trying to fix something that could have been prevented. So this is the evolution of being a human being and learning and taking accountability and responsibility for your actions, your lack of actions, what you did to be in the position that you're in. If you're not sitting there saying, I did this, not blaming Joe, Adam, Lucy, like nobody else's fault. Wherever you're in life, whatever place you're in life, it is your doing. Once you can understand that and look at that and say, okay, what did I do to get here? Now, what do I need to do to fix this? Or what do I need to do to keep doing this if it's a good thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, how do you, we talked about culture before. How do you cultivate a culture of innovation? And I say digital fluency, but you can take the question where you want. How do you approach culture within your organization?
I think this goes back to my baseball training. It's the right people in the right positions,
Hmm.
and it's comfort in those organizations where if somebody feels that they can do better at a different job or a different role or a different division of the company or the project, to be able to speak up about that and have people feel good about themselves. If they don't love what they're working on or they're not passionate about what they're working on, then that's a sin. Like that's a sin for that person. That's a sin for the company. Like that's nothing should be in that situation. So when you have the right people in the right roles and giving them the right tools and support to be able to be successful in their roles, that's culture. And allowing them to be seen, huge. People just want to be seen. They want to be validated. They want to be acknowledged. You can do that. I don't care what Gen A through Z or whatever new term you want to come up with. If someone feels good about themselves and that came from your organization and leadership's mindset and giving everybody respect, I don't think that piece of our humanity is ever going to be altered, no matter what AI, sci-fi, technology advancements we have. We have emotions. Sometimes life jades them and buries them, but we all have emotions. And if you can make somebody feel good, they're going to light it up a little bit. And when they light up a little bit and they're working inside of your company or on your project, they're going to be dedicated. They're going to give everything they can. And when you have that happening, then you win. Then you win. And then you have people that be in the trenches with you that help you figure out anything as long as you're communicating with them and you're honest with them. Don't trick people. Don't make people feel foolish. Don't make them feel like they have a safe job if they don't have a safe job. Like it's boils down to communication.
Yeah, totally agree. I have this thing I say to the internal team, like I care about you more than I care about your feeling. And what I mean by that is really what I'm trying to do is get to the bottom of imposter syndrome. Like I want them to feel good about what they do, like that they're capable professionals. Of course, I care about their feelings. But it's sometimes our feelings, like as we push from our comfort zone into a growth zone, we no doubt will feel stress and will feel things. And it's not in their best interest to avoid that situation, like challenging them and then really fighting against this belief that they aren't enough or they can't do it. And giving them situations that counter that false belief. We spend a lot of time on that, which really, we might be using slightly different words, but I think we're very much saying the same thing. If you have the right people in the right positions, then imposter syndrome is not there, it's not involved.
I agree.
With my team of all engineers, they're constantly learning new things. And so we have to, imposter syndrome is really the enemy, right? That's the kind of the ultimate source of dissatisfaction. And so challenge and winning through challenge is how that it eventually is solved.
No, I agree. Well said.
Well, please share an experience or give some advice to folks that are starting. They're at the beginning of their either entrepreneurial journey or digital transformation journey.
I think one of the most important things I've learned, and I learned it too late in life, was the idea of two inner circles. Your initial inner circle is what you're born into. It's your family, your friends, sometimes even maybe your spouses or your girlfriend, your boyfriend. That inner circle and your home life, you need to have a very strict divide from your professional life, because odds are they don't understand the life of an entrepreneur. Even if they do, there's even certain jealousies that could happen. So your home life needs to be a place where you can go home and you can recharge and you can rest and you can be ready to go at it again in the next day. Your other inner circle is your professionals, people you meet on your journey, people that you meet on LinkedIn or other entrepreneurs and groups you may go to or conferences. These are people that understand things like delays, contracts being canceled, lawsuits, not waiting on a wire for days, months, years. Like they understand that and they will support you and you can be fully transparent with them. if you share too much or anything with your first inner circle, like, oh, I got a big contract today, I'm going to start getting paid next week, blah, blah, blah. You're excited about that. And you want to share that with people that supposedly love you. They're going to be all over you if that doesn't happen. Oh, I thought you got a big contract. I thought you were getting paid $20,000 this week. And then, well, yeah, well, there's delays. It's illegal. They don't understand that. So now you're feeling you're not feeling any confidence. You're feeling scared. You're not getting recharged at home. So my suggestion is you only share closed, tangible deals and payments with that first inner circle if you need to share something. But you should have a divide there. It should be you need an escape. If you don't have an escape to go in your life to be able to process your day and detox whatever you went through, you're gonna just burn yourself out. You're gonna become fraction of a human being that you should be doing, and all because, again, communication. So for me, an entrepreneur, don't share things until they're tangible with certain parties, and also be careful what you share. You don't want to cause any animosity or isolation. You want to cause any jealousies. Like, this is, again, balancing life effing exhausting. It just getting up and going through the day is exhausting. But if you can learn how to compartmentalize things and manage it right, your day can be good, your day can be calm, but it all stems from what you're doing, what you're sharing, what you're oversharing, what you're not sharing. So when you can figure out how to communicate properly, you can have a great life. So I wish I learned that decades ago, but glad I learned it now.
Yeah, I find that sharing at home, the vulnerability at home is best without the circumstance. So like without the detail of like what is stressing me out, I find my vulnerability at home is best just to, I would say generalize. Hey, there are things going on that cause me to feel like being vulnerable without the circumstance. And then there are certain kind of consigliaries that can handle the circumstance. Like they can understand the details. And in many cases, those relationships are absent the vulnerability, right? They're absent their emotion. Like, hey, there's just some challenges we got to get through today. We need to get paid by this client who's net 90 right now, or what have you. But I see this separation between the feeling and the circumstance. It kind of goes in line with what you're saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also the reality is, even maybe some of the people in your closest inner circle don't want to see you succeed. And they're there to, throw other ideas into your head that affect what you would naturally do because you think that this person has your best interest at heart. You just never know what somebody else is going through, their ulterior motives. There's enough movies and books in history to realize that there's Brutuses everywhere, right? In your for a Caesar reference. So not trust humanity, because I think the biggest successes we have in life is being vulnerable and being open and being transparent. That's how we make things happen. But you also have to be quick to realize somebody else's intentions and where they are coming from, and if they're genuine and really care about you. And again, as you get older and meet more people and learn and evolve, you start to pick out who are the genuine ones, who are the ones that are your ride or dies, and who are the ones that would kill you if they could. So, and the ones that aren't so good, they're very tricky, they're very sneaky. And then when you have that moment, when you realize that someone in your closest inner circle is actually an enemy or jealous or has issues with you, it's very disheartening. Like you feel like an idiot. So now you take all these other situations and emotions, and then you try to go out into the business world while all that's happening. Like it's very hard to accomplish anything if you're feeling no confidence, you're not trusting your own instinct. It's difficult, which is why it's important. Share what you should share here. Don't share what you should share there. Keep everything tight until you got to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Protect your well-being and your mental state, and do things to elevate your confidence and your capabilities.
Yeah. When I read 48 Laws of Power, I was kind of depressed that life was really that layered. 48 Laws of Power talks a lot about what you're talking about here. And it's really using the dynamics of the aristocratic court that we all live in. we're all kind of kings of our own court. And there's every kind of evil in that book, or it describes every kind of evil and manipulation, but it also kind of helps you understand that there are some of those layers but it's not, it's certainly not black and white, and not everyone has your best interest at heart. So
It's true. Very true.
well, in closing here, if people like what you had to share today, and this has been a great conversation, you've been a fantastic guest, how should they connect with you?
Well, thank you again for the opportunity and conversation. So Brian J. Esposito, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, TikTok, corporate website. The one I've been working on for 23 plus years is Esposito Intellectual Enterprises. So that's EIE.ROCKS, EIE.rocks, nothing else. You can see what we're working on and connect with me directly there. And the company, public company that I took over as CEO is diamondlakeminerals.com. And you can also see what we're working on there and connect with me there. As you probably know, since our connection and conversation, I love when people reach out to me. I get back to everybody, and I'm very, I find it from a place of strength when people put their guard down and message somebody or reach out to somebody, maybe ask for help or some ideas. So, don't feel intimidated. Anybody that you may be inspired by or that you connect with, that you see online, always reach out to them, let them know what you're feeling. You'd be surprised at their response.
Yeah, and I just took a look at the DLMI ticker, and looks like in the last 6 months, you've grown stock value by 130%, at least on the OTC market that I looked at. So it sounds like you're off to a good start.
Hey, thank you, sir. Yeah, we've got a great team, great support, and what we're building here, I think, is pretty special.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you, sir. Have a good weekend.